to you by the Farmer's Dog. Fresh, human-grade dog food delivered right to your door. Good afternoon. At 12 o'clock, I'm Andrew Bogish. There weren't many bigger crossover stars than O.J. Simpson, but that all changed in 1994 when he was accused and ultimately acquitted of killing Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman. The Simpson family announced this morning that O.J. passed away yesterday at 76 after a cancer battle. As a football player, Simpson won the Heisman Trophy with the number one pick in the NFL draft. Then there were the movies, the commercials, broadcasting gigs. Again, O.J. Simpson has passed away at 76.
BT and Sal. Yanks off today. 6-game roadie up next through the weekend and into next week. 3 at the Guardians, 3 at the Jays. We'll get back to these. Aaron Judge, what level of concern do you have to his slow start? Sal and I just saw during the break there, O.J. Simpson passed away. So O.J. Simpson has died.
Dude, I got a text and I was legit, wow, O.J. Simpson. Now, I didn't know that he was sick with cancer. Mm-hmm. As we saw, his family tweeted that he's passed away with cancer, but man, it just brings back so many memories. I remember vividly.
Where were you?
The trial. I was.
Where were you with the white Bronco?
You're gonna
take me on a journey. What was going on? I know where I was. I want you to go first.
That was different to me. I was watching the Knick game.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I was at my friend Tim's house, but I'm not 100% certain. But I was like, what the hell's going on here? Put the game on. I don't want to see this stuff. I didn't care about it. But, okay, so give me your story first with that one, because I have another one on where I was when the trial was going on.
I was on campus at Marist, and I was up there, even though school was over. I was taking a summer course because baseball, whatever, I had to make something up. And I was up there with my ex-girlfriend, and I remember we ordered food. I think we got Chinese food. And we went back to the dorm room, and it's Knicks time. It's Knicks time. It's go time.
Especially back then.
And I watched what we all watched, and I was losing my mind. Put the game back on. And it was crazy because, you didn't know how it was going to end. You didn't know. And then when the verdict came out, I remember, I'll never forget, I was walking across campus, and my buddy Matty, my roommate, and I was going to a class, and no phones at this point, and somebody just yelled, OJ got off. And I'm like, what? I'm like, wow. And then, you start seeing the pockets of congregating young students, and some people were thrilled, some people weren't. You get the whole mixed bag. It was crazy.
I was in high school, and I remember telling my teacher that I didn't feel well, so I could go down to the nurse's office and listen to it.
Wow.
And I did. I got out of class, went down to the nurse's during school, during whatever class I was supposed to be in. I was like, I'm not feeling well. Go down to the nurse's office, laying there, waiting for them to take my temperature, whatever, and they got the radio on. And now everybody, I just hop up. We're all just listening to the radio. And you hear it, not guilty. People in the school were running around yelling, the juice is loose, the juice is loose. And I remember vividly, while students were celebrating, one of the history teachers, Mr. Serber, I believe his name was.
He sounds like a stiff guy, like stern, right?
Shaking his head in just total disappointment and disbelief that A, he was found not guilty, and B, that people were celebrating that the juice was loose. Now, remember, this is high school.
Yeah.
A bunch of idiot kids who really don't know any better.
I get it. What was your reaction? Were you happy?
I was not happy. I certainly was not celebrating. I was just more curious as to what was going on, to a point where, like I said, I couldn't miss it. I needed to hear what was going on. And I think I was in disbelief and maybe shock as well, and trying to comprehend what was happening around me. I certainly wasn't celebrating the fact that he got off, because I felt pretty strongly that.
Yeah, me too.
He did it.
Me too.
And now he's dead.
Yeah, I mean,
this is one of those, BT, by the way, that, usually it's like, oh my God, it's so sad.
No, I'm not saying that.
No, I'm saying in general, this is one of those where I feel like I don't have to be like, oh, this is, really sad to learn about the passing of OJ. It's not one of happiness or relief, but it's just like, oh, OJ's dead.
Yeah.
And a part of me and maybe some other people
Sal told me, I didn't know. Sal actually said OJ, during the break, OJ, guess who died? And you said OJ. I said, who? You said, no, we're playing the game here. And I said, OJ who? I don't know. I was reading something.
I go, OJ's dead. You go, Simpson?
Honestly, you know what? I was in I was in the middle of reading something, and I thought for a second, I didn't hear you say dead. I think you said OG. So I thought you were feeding me something about the Knicks. So my mind, I just didn't really capture what you said. I will leave it at this before we get back.
Alberto Albuquerque.
Yeah, yes, yeah, exactly. That's funny. Before we get back to these judge calls here, listen, if you want to chime in on OJ stuff to an extent, again, I'm not going to say you can't, but we're not hijacking this with OJ stories. I'm not interested
you know
in
where
that.
I was with the Broncos.
Don't care. Let me say this about OJ. You know, I will never disparage somebody no longer with us.
Right.
You know, I try, well,
even if they were a murderer?
Not to sound inconsistent, because when Imus comes up, I have no problem saying I wasn't an Imus fan, and I was not a fan of OJ. I was, and then I wasn't. I'm just going to leave it up.
Were you a fan of him playing?
I didn't see him play.
Okay, but like,
did you think I'm 60, 70?
But when
I never saw him play one snap.
Right, like for me though, I
liked his person. I liked him in the movies. Very congenial, very. He was just a great. An ambassador for the sport of football. He really cut through. I mean, I was a fan.
You remember him as a broadcaster?
Yeah, a little bit. I thought he was okay on the games. He had great charisma, though. Yeah, I mean, O.J. Simpson was one of the first names I heard as a kid.
Right.
Honestly, if I was able to, not that I ever saw him, but just like whether it's my dad or relatives, like Babe Ruth, OJ's on that list. But you know what? I'm going to leave it at this and keep it moving. Now you meet your maker, and your maker knows what happened. And then you got to deal with what you have to deal with, or you don't have to deal with what you don't have to deal with.
Can't run from that, OJ.
I'm going to leave it at that. You know what I mean?
Well said. Yeah, I know what you mean. I think a lot of us are feeling that.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's just that's one of those, like, there are few names that could have this type of impact. Obviously, it's going to be a huge thing moving forward the rest of the day. Tomorrow, there are very few names that could have that type of worldwide impact that this is going to have.
Agreed.
When you find out that OJ is dead.
No doubt. 877-337-6666. How about...
back to Aaron Judge.
Yeah. Well, Sal says he's dead in the batter's box. John's in Danbury. Wake up, John's. Johnny in Danbury, Connecticut. What's going on, John?
I'm awake. I am here, and I am concerned about Aaron Judge.
You are?